Welcome to episode number 3 of Wayback Wednesday. Today I'm going to talk about something that happened to me about 5 years ago, so it's in the past, but not way back. And it's also something that might be happening to people today, even as we speak. About 5 years ago, I was working for a large graphic design firm here in the Midwest. One of the things that we were asked to do was present our design materials to people on other teams. This included everyone from the executive creative director to the head of marketing, sales, customer service and support, anyone that would have been touched by the design materials that we were creating at the time. It was a pretty common scenario to find out the day of the presentation what room you were going to be in. And because you found out at the last minute where you were actually going to have to meet, you never really knew what equipment you were going to be facing when you walked in and set up to make your presentation. So here's the Wayback Wednesday scenario. I would usually show up an hour before the meeting once I found out where it was going to be. I'd lower the screen by hand, check to see if there were any speakers for audio, check the projector I was going to be using to see what kind of a connection it had, then assess what other things I was going to need to make this work. Because myself and my team members all use MacBook Pros, it usually meant we had to find a DVI to VGA connector for video. And we probably were going to need an RCA to mini stereo input connector for the audio connections as well. If we were lucky enough to have powered speakers, and I had all the correct connectors and dongles to get everything to work, I'd usually take about 30 minutes making sure the laptop would actually talk to everything and work. It would have been really nice at the time if there had been some sort of automated system that I could have just walked in, plugged in, and presented, but that was never the case. So the typical way to set things up for a presentation went like this. First, I would change my laptop resolution to match the projector, 1024 by 768. Then I would adjust my presentation to fit within that screen resolution. Then I would plug in the audio and go over and make sure that the volume on the amp was set to the correct volume so that I didn't blow somebody's head off, and make sure that the audio was still loud enough that everybody in the room could hear it. Once I had everything set up, I would usually leave and lock the door behind me. About 5 minutes before the meeting would start, I'd come back to the room, check everything to make sure it still worked, and kind of put it in standby mode until the meeting actually started and we had to present. Now, here's where some form of built-in automation would have really come in handy. When it was go time, you usually said, "Hey, could somebody get the lights?" Then you'd point the remote at the projector to turn it on. You'd walk back over to your laptop, you go through your slide deck. After the presentation's done, you power down the projector, you turn on the lights, you raise the screen, and everything's over. It wasn't easy. I mean, it wasn't hard, but it wasn't really the most intuitive way of doing things, and automation would have made it so much easier. Now, I know the topic of this is Wayback Wednesday, and I know that some people are still doing things this exact same way today, and I also know that there are people that say, "What are you talking about? We have great automation systems. We've got this Crestron thing here that we paid a lot of money for, and it does everything you're talking about." The reality is, though, that most people don't have something like a Crestron automation system, right? It's expensive. You need someone that can program in C or Visual Basic in order to set it up. And because of this, they're usually confined to larger venues or something like the corporate boardroom that's going to be used by the board of directors or the executive team. Even in a large corporate environment, that kind of system is simply too cost prohibitive to install in every small and mid-sized meeting room. Consequently, many of us are still doing things the old school Wayback Wednesday way, but we don't have to. This is where the new school component of this comes in. There are more affordable, easier to install systems that are available today to help with room automation and make your meetings and presentations go easier. Thanks to companies like Neats, control systems and room automation is now easier and more affordable than what you can get with big boy players like Crestron. I'm not saying that there isn't a place for systems like Crestron, But what I am saying is, Neats offers the opportunity for people to install room automation and control systems in all of their smaller and medium-sized meeting rooms. And the great thing about it is, you don't have to have a programmer on staff to write and configure something in C or Visual Basic. If you look at something like the Neats Wayback Pro, you'll get what I mean, and you'll see how powerful this automation system truly is. This is an intelligent AV control system for small and medium-sized meeting rooms or learning spaces that use interactive displays or LCD projectors. It features auto switching between sources, which makes it easier for all users to connect instantly. It also works with wireless collaboration and presentation solutions like the Barco ClickShare, so collaboration is seamless between everyone. There are so many things that I love about this system. The fact that it auto-senses video signals. It starts up room functions. It works with wireless collaboration tools. It can control things like raising and lowering the presentation screen, dimming the lights, adjusting audio volume, and it can also be used for input-output control of relays, switches, and sensors. This is all really cool stuff that I wish I had had back in the day when I was having to do these presentations. And the best part is, it can be done for under $1,000 per install. This would have been so helpful at my old company. We had hundreds of small to medium-sized meeting rooms. None of them were the same, none of them had the same gear, and none of them had any form of automation making it easier to connect and present. This would have saved so much time, and it would have prevented so many headaches. Imagine 5 to 10 years ago, being able to walk into an intelligent room without remote controls or buttons, where you just plug in, present, collaborate, and work. It's a system that doesn't require a degree in computer programming to install, set up, or maintain, and it does everything it's supposed to do for less than $1,000. That's what I call Neats. Did you see what I did there? Yeah. You don't have to worry. I'm not going to Vegas to be a stand-up comedian anytime soon. Okay? All right, this concludes the 3rd episode of Wayback Wednesday. Once again, thank you. Thank you for watching. If you like what you saw and heard today, be sure and subscribe on our YouTube channel or sign up on Synergy Center for the newsletter updates where we will be announcing more of these episodes. If you'd like to find out more about Neats, look at the links in the description of the video below and check out all the informative documentation that we have available for you. Thanks again, and I will catch you next week.